What is going on, everyone? My name is Mewtwo, and this is my attempt to be a SOULSILVER hardcore Nuzlocke using only normal type Pokemon. I won't dive too deep into the rules, but in a nutshell they go as follows. I am only allowed to catch the first normal type Pokemon I encounter on each route. If a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and I am no longer allowed to use it, and it must be permanently boxed. I'm not allowed to use items in battle, although held items are okay. I'm not allowed to level up my Pokemon above the Gym Leader / Elite Four member's ace, and finally, the battle mode must be on set at all times. The normal type is a fairly weak one, unfortunately for us, with the average base stat total floating around 404. Not to mention, this game is especially hard, with a Ghost type gym, a Fighting type gym, a Steel type gym, a Dragon type gym, which is the strongest type in the game, another Fighting type Elite Four member, and another Dragon type member of the Elite Four, who actually so happens to be the champion. On the plus side, however, there are quite a bit of normal type Pokemon that we can encounter, 25 to be exact. Although we are limited a little bit, Snorlax we can't get until the post game, so that one is a no-go. Furthermore, a few of these Pokemon cannot be caught due to it being on a route that certain other Pokemon are also exclusive to, meaning I can catch only one and not the other. With all that being said though, let's finally answer the question, can I be a Pokemon SOULSILVER hardcore Nuzlocke using only normal type Pokemon? We arrive in Newbark Town only to be instantly attacked by some random girl's Meryl, not a very warm welcome if you ask me. After being assaulted, we make way to the professor's lab where we can acquire our first Pokemon, and I go with Totodile as it's my favorite of the three. Not that we'll be able to use it anyway. Since I'm new in town, I decide to talk to some of the locals to try and make some friends, but I just get assaulted yet again. Man, this town sucks. Due to the abuse I've recently suffered, I decide to skip town and eventually arrive in Cherry Grove City, where I run into a crackhead grandpa with a serious case of the zoomies. I mean, at least he's nice and he gave me some shoes. Moving on, I arrive at Mr. Pokemon's house where he gives us a very important egg that is dire to Professor Elm's research. Little did he know I was actually going to use the egg to send it into battles and force it to beat up other Pokemon for my own satisfaction. Back in Newbark Town, there's been a great disaster that we must attend to, but on our way there we run into the same jerk that shoved us earlier. He insists we battle and I absolutely wreck him with Totodile as he engages in his first edgy monologue right after we turn into some distorted looking blocks for some reason. Thanks, Desmume. After taking care of our business in Newbark, Lyra decides to give us a very in-depth tutorial on how to catch Pokemon. Thanks, Lyra. Afterwards, she does give us Pokeballs, which officially starts our challenge. Eager to get started, I immediately search for my first Pokemon and I encounter a Sentret on Route 29. Probably the worst option I could have got, but beggars can't be choosers, am I right? I catch it and proceed to give it the nickname Stubbs for obvious reasons. Knowing I need to bolster my team up, I head to Route 46 to get my next encounter, which happens to be a Spearow, and I nickname it Talon. Just north of Cherry Grove laid our next encounter, a level 4 Pidgey, which I caught and nicknamed Bruno. I trained the party up a little bit because we have some trainer battles coming up and I would really hate to lose the run this early on. We eventually beat all the trainers on the route, and a little farther north was where we could get another encounter on Route 31, a Rattata, and we catch it and nickname her Penelope. Man, we have 4 Pokemon before the first gym? I'm feeling pretty great right about now. We soon then arrived in Violet City, which is where the first gym leader was waiting for us, Falkner. We have a lot of training to do before we can even think about fighting this guy. We clear out the trainers in Sprout Tower, and we run into our rival Jim, who enters another edgy piece of dialogue before making an epic anime exit. Once I get the team up to level 13, I decide it's time to challenge the first gym. Falkner leads with a level 9 Pidgey, and I send out Talon. We go for a peck as the enemy Pidgey does the same, but we knock it out in one more peck. Next comes in his ace, a level 13 Pidgeotto, and at this point, I'm pretty sure Falkner is hacking because Pidgey doesn't even evolve into Pidgeotto until level 18. Despite this clear display of cheating, we start to lower its defense with Leer as it attacks Talon with Peck and Gust. Talon gets low on HP, so I have to switch into Bruno, and I try to lower its accuracy with Sand Attack, but I completely forgot that it has the Keen Eyes ability, so its accuracy can't be lowered. Whoops. At this point, I have no other option, really, and I know I need to make a tactical sacrifice, so I send in Stubbs to unleash a Fury Swipes attack, which hits 3 times. Pidgeotto then goes for Tackle and brings us down to 1 HP, but Stubbs misses his next Fury Swipes. Unlucky. Another Tackle does Stubbs in, and we can use this clean switch to send out Penelope, who gets the job done with a Quick Attack. Your sacrifice will not be in vain, Stubbs. We go to the Pokemart in town where one of Professor Elm's assistants are waiting for us to give us an egg which has a Togepi inside of it, so we can use that once it hatches. After a long trek down Route 32, we pick up the Shell Bell item, which should help us out a little bit, and then we find our way into Union Cave, which we breeze right past until we are in front of Azalea Town, where we see the first of Team Rocket's foolery. Knowing we must put an immediate stop to these goons, we start to single-handedly defeat them all in battle before facing Proton, a Team Rocket executive. Proton leads with a Zubat as we send out Penelope. We use Quick Attack to bring the Zubat to around a quarter of HP, and it uses Leech Life for little damage. Another Quick Attack does the job as he sends out Coughing, which after some Tail Whips to lower its defense, we send out Talon, who is able to finish it off with a few Fury attacks. Knowing our egg is about to hatch and with our team being underleveled, I begin to start training on Route 33. Eventually, our egg hatches into a cute little Togepi, and we nickname him Egghead. Once all of our team members reach the level cap at level 17, it's time to fight the second gym leader, Bugsy, who specializes in Bug-type Pokemon if you couldn't guess from the name. Despite having 2 Flying-type Pokemon, Bugsy is still terrifying with his level 17 Scyther, which is what he leads with. We opt to lead with Bruno, and Scyther goes for a Focus Energy on turn 1 as we use Gust for little damage due to the fact that it is a special type move and Pidgey is a physical attacker. Scyther then goes for Leer as we fire off another Gust, bringing it to almost half. We then get hit by a Quick Attack, which brings us all the way down to just 9 HP as we use Gust one last time so Scyther's Oranberry pops. I know I have to switch here, so I send an Egghead, which I know can take any move that Scyther will use the best on our team, and we get hit by 2 Quick Attacks before we can use Charm. Another Quick Attack brings us to 7 HP as we use Charm one last time before he uses U-turn, killing Egghead, and canceling all of those attack drops we just worked so hard for. Rough. Bugsy sends in Metapod as we send out Talon and fire off an Aerial Ace, bringing Metapod to the red before getting hit by a Tackle. Bugsy uses a potion, and then we use Aerial Ace 2 more times, finally KOing the Metapod. Bugsy sends out Scyther again and uses Focus Energy as we use Aerial Ace, which does just enough damage to knock it out from around half HP. Incredible. The rest of the battle is a cakewalk as he only has Kakuna left, which we can just use Aerial Ace on to win our second gym badge, the Hive badge, as well as receiving the U-turn TM. The trouble doesn't end there though, as we still have our rival gym to battle before we can leave the city. He leads with Ghastly, which never actually attacks us and we can just knock out with Gust. He then sends in Zubat, which actually gives us some problems with its annoying Bite and Confuse Ray combo. Forced to switch here, I go into Talon to finish up the job, and then his Ace Bayleaf comes out, which is no match for Talon. Moving on to Route 34, we have an opportunity for another encounter, and after a little bit, we run into a Ditto and we nickname him Impasta. Get it? Because he transforms into other Pokemon? No, okay. Also, while we were looking for Impasta, we were able to level up Bruno and evolve it into a Pidgeotto. Eager to fill out as many slots in our party as possible before this next incredibly difficult gym, we venture north to Route 35, which during the nighttime we are able to encounter a Hoot Hoot, which we nicknamed Zenitsu. We have one more encounter we can get before this next gym challenge, all the way up on Route 36, where we encounter a Stantler, and once caught we give it the nickname Prancer. Get it? Because it's a reindeer? Anyway, this does bring us to a full party of 6, which makes me very confident heading into the third gym. After a bit of grinding the party up to the level cap at 19, we challenge none other than Whitney, arguably the most notorious gym leader in the entire franchise. I had done a lot of planning out for this battle, as I knew I would have to make some sacrifices in order to even stand a chance. She leads with Clefairy as we send out Talon. We Aerial Ace it as it goes for Double Slap. We then go for another Aerial Ace, bringing it into the yellow, and at this range I didn't think it was low enough to proc a Super Potion, so I go for U-turn, which was the completely wrong decision. With a wrench thrown in our plans, we then decide to make our first tactical sacrifice of this gym challenge. We send out Impasta knowing full well that it is going to be KO'd, but the Clefairy ends up just using Memento and killing itself to lower Impasta's stats, so she can get a clean switch into Miltank, I guess. Miltank tanks Impasta down with 2 stomps before we can send out our next sacrificial lamb in the form of Talon. It uses Stomp as we use Leer to lower its defense before another Stomp KOs Talon. Ouch, that one stings a little bit. We send in Prancer, who becomes attracted to Miltank, but surprisingly is able to come through and get another 3 Leers off, totaling 4. We go out into Penelope as Miltank uses Stomp, bringing us into the yellow, meaning another one will KO. We use Hyper Fang, however, which puts it into Sucker Punch range, according to my calcs, and we are able to pick up the win. A little bit of a sloppy battle perhaps, but hey, at least we made it. Also, Penelope evolved, so that's something at least. After this victory, we acquire the plane badge and the TM for Attract, and at the time I had no idea how important this TM was. We leave the city northbound and eventually arrive in Ekrotik City, where just west on Route 38 we could get another encounter. I really wanted a Tauros here, but after a while I encounter and catch a Meowth and we nickname it Yumiko. There's one more encounter we can get before the next gym badge. All the way back in the Ilex Forest, there's a man who can teach one of our Pokemon Headbutt, which we can use in Azalea Town to find an Apom, which after catching it, we give it the nickname Leona. Upon arriving in Ekrotik City, we head into the Burned Tower, where none other than Jim, our rival, is waiting for us to have a battle. It's a fairly swift victory, as I have multiple flying-type Pokemon, and he has a Bayleaf as his ace, so not much trouble there. Team Rocket is up to no good once again and tries to outdance the Kimono Girl, and because of his absolutely fucking awful dancing, we of course have to send him blasting off again. And because we do so, we also acquire the HM4 Surf. After this, it's time to head to Route 39 for our next encounter, and we get a Miltank, which is actually super good for us. We catch it and name her Whitney. Fitting, I know. We then go all the way up to Route 43 to get another encounter, a Girafarig, and once we catch it, we name it Palindrome. Man, I'm so good at this whole nicknaming thing. Although this is a new Pokemon, I am a little bit attached to our current 6 that we have, so I think Palindrome will sit in the PC for now. We go on to challenge the 4th gym leader of the Johto League, Morty, who specializes with ghost-type Pokemon. He leads with a Ghastly as we send out Whitney, which can hit ghosts with normal-type attacks thanks to her Scrappy ability. Whitney is able to handle the Ghastly just fine after landing a few stomps and even getting a flinch on one of them. Next to come out is Haunter. We land a stomp, dealing a little over half damage before the Haunter puts us to sleep with Hypnosis, and then proceeds to steal all of our life with Dream Eater. I'm forced to switch now, and I send in Yumiko, and one Shadow Claw is enough to KO the Haunter. Morty sends out Gengar next, and we are able to take it out with a few Shadow Claws. Last up is Haunter, and we go for Shadow Claw as it goes for Sucker Punch, bringing us down to 7 HP. Scary stuff. We send in Penelope, who is able to finish the job with a Bite. We acquire the Fog Badge from Morty as well as the TM for Shadow Ball. Nice. 4 badges down, 4 to go. Next on our to-do list is to head to Olivine City and head up the lighthouse to meet the 6th gym leader, Jasmine, who needs our help to save Amphi the sick Ampharos. Cyan Wood City is said to have the medicine to cure Amphi, so we surf over there and grab it from a very shady pharmacist. We deliver the medicine to Amphi, which unlocks the Safari Zone where we can get another encounter, a Kangaskhan. We catch her and name her Teresa, and she happens to have a modest nature, plus special attack and minus attack. The worst nature she could have. Great. There's one more encounter we can get right outside the Safari Zone, and thanks to us already catching some of the possible encounters and also never running into a Farfetch'd, we happen to encounter the best Pokemon on this route, a Tauros. We name it Cow2, and he happens to have a hardy nature which is neutral, and honestly, I'm fine with that. We make some adjustments to the team by dropping off Zenitsu, our Noctowl, in exchange for Cow2, the Tauros. I was going to add Kangaskhan or Girafarig, but both of them just had awful natures, so I couldn't justify doing that. After a while of grinding, we begin our challenge against Chuck, the 5th gym leader, who specializes with fighting-type Pokemon. How fun! Chuck sends out a Primeape as we lead with Leona. He goes for a double team as we set up Agility, getting ready for a baton pass into Whitney as he sets up another double team. He's able to get all the way up to +6 evasion and is about to hit us with a powerful focus punch, but at the critical time, we land a Zen Headbutt for the KO. Incredible. Poliwrath then comes out and we are able to finish it off with a few Zen Headbutts without taking much damage at all. For being a fighting gym, that was surprisingly easy. Moving on to the Lake of Rage, we encounter a shiny red Gyarados, and we do what any normal person does when they see a shiny Pokemon. Afterwards, we go to a suspicious-looking souvenir shop with the Pokemon League champion, Lance, who probably killed this guy with his Dragonite who used Hyper Beam on him. Brutal stuff, Lance. Brutal. After killing probably every single Zubat and Rattata in existence, we run into our rival Jim, who literally just shows up to this elaborate underground hideout to push us, and then just leave. Jim has some issues, if you ask me. After this, we have a battle with Petrel, a Team Rocket executive. However, Cow2 is able to just sweep his team completely without any trouble. Now we have to deal with Ariana, but we have Lance by our side, so I think we'll be okay. The opposing side leads with Arbok and Drowsy as I send out Whitney. Arbok is able to lower our attack stat with Intimidate, but one Zen Headbutt from Whitney is still enough to take it down. Drowsy goes down to Fly from Dragonite as I begin to set up rollouts on the Murkrow. Murkrow is taken down after one more, and Gloom goes to about half with the next one. Grimer does use Mud Slap on us to lower our accuracy, but we're able to pull through and hit the Gloom to knock it out. Grimer is then taken out with a Fly, and we defeat Ariana without much trouble at all. We are now able to take on the 7th gym leader, which I know is out of order, but Pryce's ace is a lower level than Jasmine's, so blame the game for going out of order, not me. I decide to lead with Whitney, and Pryce leads with Seal, and we begin to stack rollouts as Seal goes for Icy Wind. 2 rollouts brings Seal down to around half as it goes for another Icy Wind, doing little damage but lowering our speed. 1 more rollout causes the Seal to heal, but then we are able to KO it shortly after. Since our rollout stack is maxed out, we are able to one-shot Pryce's ace, Pillowswine. This big cow can really pack a punch, huh? He then sends in his last Pokemon, Dugong, and we go for Body Slam and get the Paro, which is the icing on the cake for this battle. Whitney is low now, however, so we have to switch into Cow 2, and the Dugong gets paralyzed. We use Horn Attack to bring it below half before the Dugong gets paralyzed again. Dugong rests after 1 more Horn Attack is able to bring it into the red, but Cow 2 is able to get the job done after a few more turns. And with that, we are able to acquire the Glacier Badge and the TM for Blizzard. The next gym challenge, however, is going to be a tough one, as it is a Steel gym, which, if you didn't know, Steel resists normal, and they are notorious for having incredibly high defenses, and it just so happens that all of our party members besides 1 only have physical moves. Great. After a long while of theory crafting, I settle on subbing out Zenitsu again for this battle and adding Teresa, our Kangaskhan, and teaching her the TM for Focus Blast, which we picked up from the department store back in Goldenrod City. I'm not feeling very confident heading into this gym battle, but I think I've optimized my chances of winning, so I just go for it. Jasmine leads with a Magnemite as I send out Whitney. Hey everyone, Editing Mewtwo here, and at the time of recording, it was like 3 AM and I had been working on the script/recording for around 13 hours straight, so none of my commentary was making any sense. Basically, all that happened was I hit Magnemite with a Zen Headbutt before I got paralyzed by Thunder Wave, which made me realize I forgot to give Whitney a Cherry Berry, so I stayed in until Whitney got too low, and then I switched out into Yumiko. Hey, that kinda rhymed. Forced to switch, I decide to go into Yumiko to try and chip the Magnemite down a little bit more. Upon switching, however, the Magnemite uses Thunderbolt and gets a crit, bringing Yumiko down to just 20 HP. I need to switch again here, so I go into Cow 2 and we take a little less than half of our HP. We go for Zen Headbutt to chip the Magnemite down as she goes for Thunder Wave, which fully paralyzes us the next turn as she gets another Thunderbolt off. I decide to go into Leona here and we take another critical hit Thunderbolt. This is the most brutal Magnemite I think I've ever seen. I'm completely expecting Leona to be a sack on this turn, but we are able to get a critical hit on double hit to knock out the Magnemite. Amazing stuff, Leona. But, of course, Jasmine has a whole nother Magnemite that we have to deal with. I need to be able to get Teresa out onto the battlefield without having her take damage, so I sack Yumiko to the Thunderbolt. Teresa then hits the battlefield, and I go for the risky play and use the 70% accurate Focus Blast. And amazingly, we are able to land it, and we immediately get the knockout on the Magnemite. We really needed that one. Jasmine sends in her ace, Steelix, and I go for Focus Blast, and we land another one, bringing it down to a little less than half before her Citrus Berry activates. Not wanting to risk missing another Focus Blast, I try a few other moves but gain 0 ground by doing so until I am brought down into the red by Iron Tail. I make a Hail Mary play and use Focus Blast, and amazingly we're able to knock it out for the victory. Amazing. We're able to receive the Mineral Badge and the TM for Iron Tail. But upon exiting the gym, we learn from the professor that Team Rocket is up to no good again, so we make for Goldenrod City to put a stop to them. We enter the underground tunnel to pick up our disguise to infiltrate the base one last time. After defeating all of the grunts and making the Rattata and Zubat population go extinct for a second time, Bruno is finally able to evolve into a beautiful Pidgeot. We eventually arrive at the top of the radio tower where we find Petrel, who was pretty easy being that we have 2 Pokemon with Zen Headbutt. In the underground, we run into Jim, and despite getting confused, Whitney is able to beat the Golbat with a Rollout and Zen Headbutt. Bruno is also able to handle the Meganium with 2 flies even after it set up the Reflect. Afterwards, we send in Teresa to deal with the Magnemite with a Focus Blast, but it's Focus Blast, so of course we miss twice before getting paralyzed and then missing a 3rd time before we can land one. This move really is a coin flip on whether or not it will actually work. Sneasel and Haunter are then both handled by Leona with double hit and payback. Moving on, we eventually reach the director and we receive the card key from him, which we can then use to gain access to the 3 main Team Rocket executives: Proton, Ariana, and Archer. We defeat Proton with a few Zen Headbutts from Whitney and a fake out from Teresa. Ariana is an easy victory with Whitney and Cow 2 as they both know Zen Headbutt, which is super effective against her whole team aside from the Murkrow, who is handled by Whitney's rollout. Next up is Archer, and we lead with Teresa as he leads with the Houndour. We go for Fake Out and get a crit and almost one-hit KO the Houndour. It's then finished with a Dizzy Punch before Archer sends in Houndoom. Houndoom outspeeds and goes for Fire Fang, doing about a third of our HP before we miss Focus Blast. Houndoom goes for Fire Fang again and gets a crit, bringing Teresa down to just 12 HP before we land a Focus Blast, bringing Houndoom to about half HP. Scary stuff. We have to switch now, so we send in Whitney to take a feint attack, which does little damage. He then goes for the Fire Fang as we use Body Slam, bringing it to around 1 HP before another Body Slam is able to do the job. His last Pokemon is Coughing, and I decide to stay in with Whitney to use a Zen Headbutt, which the Coughing took surprisingly well. But we do get the flinch, and we are able to knock it out with one more Zen Headbutt. Whitney is honestly an unstoppable force. After we sent Team Rocket blasting off again, it's time to go to Blackthorn City, where just south we are able to get our last encounter of the run in the form of a Teddiursa. Once caught, we nickname her Cindy Bear. Comment down below if you get the reference. Next on our to-do list is to defeat the 8th gym leader, Clair, and man, am I terrified for this battle. I taught Teresa Outrage, and once Cindy Bear evolved, I taught her the Avalanche TM to try and help with this battle. After an insane amount of training and getting the party up to level 41 and optimizing all of my items on my Pokemon, I went into the battle expecting to either get absolutely rocked or to make it out by the skin of my teeth. Clair leads with Gyarados as I send in Bruno with the intention of switching out just to eliminate the Intimidate debuff. I send in Whitney as I know I can use Milk Drink to out-heal any damage the Gyarados would do to me. Gyarados uses Dragon Rage a couple of times as Whitney uses Zen Headbutt and Body Slam, and we actually managed to get the para on the first Body Slam. Once Whitney goes down to the red, it's time to start using Milk Drink to get back up into the green before finishing it off with another Body Slam. The Gyarados only ever used Dragon Rage for some reason, which was a weird decision by the AI. Next to come in was her scariest Pokemon, Kingdra, and surprisingly this could not have worked out any better for us. Whitney is able to stall out all of the Kingdra's Hydro Pumps by using Milk Drink. Amazingly, on our second Body Slam we get the para again, meaning we outspeed now, and there's no way, unless we get crit, that this Kingdra can take out Whitney. After a few more turns of stalling out all of the Hydro Pumps, we bring the Kingdra low enough to trigger the Hyper Potion, and we send in Teresa to finish the job off with a few Outrages. She then sends in a Dragonair, and we are still locked in an Outrage, so we are forced to use it, and we one-hit KO the first Dragonair. She sends in her last Pokemon, and we use Outrage but hit ourselves in confusion before getting paralyzed by Thunder Wave. We are then hit for little damage by Dragon Pulse before also hitting ourselves in confusion. We get hit by another Dragon Pulse, bringing us down to low HP before missing an Outrage. We have to send in Cindy Bear, who takes 2 Dragon Pulses quite well before finishing the job with Avalanche. For what I thought was going to be one of the hardest battles of the entire run, we managed to win without too much trouble actually. Despite us winning, Clair refuses to give us the badge, so we have to go talk to the dragon cult leaders behind the gym, who ask, "Do you beat your Pokemon?" No? Alright, Claire, give him the badge. Next up, we need to go visit the Kimono girls in Ekritique City who need to test our strength as a trainer for some reason. Remember back towards the beginning of the video how I said Attract was going to be a very crucial TM for us in this run? I didn't realize it until I taught it to Whitney before fighting all of these Kimono girls, who, by the way, don't give you an opportunity to heal before fighting all 5 of them in a row. I head into this series of battles without thinking too much about it as I didn't know what laid ahead of me. I lead with Whitney, who has the newly learned Attract TM, and I can honestly say without this TM, our run would have been over due to these girls. They have 5 evolutions that all know really high damaging moves like Psychic, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, and more that would have wiped the floor with my team if they weren't immobilized by Love for 90% of the battles against Whitney. And even with this TM, some of the battles were still really close calls. This crazy cow is easily the MVP so far in this run, and I wasn't even really expecting to use it that much when I first caught her. The Kimono girls then say I am a worthy enough trainer to go help them with Lugia, Guardian of the Seas, which honestly I forgot about how awesome the cutscene for Lugia actually is. On our way to Victory Road, I was starting to get a little scared because our team was approaching the level cap for the first Elite Four member, and there were so many trainer battles that were unavoidable. With multiple team members almost at level 43, we have one more necessary battle at the end of Victory Road against Jim, and I am terrified that multiple Pokemon are going to break the level cap. Jim leads with a Sneasel as I send in Cow2 to hit it with Takedown, bringing Sneasel to 1 HP before getting hit with Icy Wind and Feint Attack, which brings us down to about half after recoil. Golbat comes in next, and we use Zen Headbutt and we miss the 90% accurate move. This was a huge problem because I had planned on using Cow2 for a majority of this battle because he was the furthest from leveling up, but now he's too low to do that. I have to switch here, so I go into Cindy Bear, who takes 2 air cutters really well, despite one of them even being a crit, and we then are able to one-shot it with an avalanche. Meganium comes out next, and I switch into Teresa here, and then immediately into Bruno to try and lower the amount of XP that my Pokemon were gaining from this battle. Bruno takes a poison powder upon the switch, and then we use Fly to bring Meganium to a little above half. After getting hit with a Petal Dance, we use Fly again to take out the Meganium. He then sends in Magneton, and we have to switch here, and I forgot I had Palindrome on our team to use Flash back in the Whirl Islands. I send Palindrome in to use as a clean switch to send in my only answer against Steel types, and that is Teresa to use Focus Blast on it, which is a one-hit KO. He sends in Kadabra next, and I also don't really have an answer to this thing aside from Crunch on Teresa. Next up is Haunter, and at this point Teresa is already going to level up to 43 even if I switch her here, so I just decide to stay in and use Crunch on it after it uses Curse to bring itself to half. I'm really upset after this battle because now we can't use one of our strongest Pokemon, Teresa, to battle Will, which is the first member of the Elite Four. This is a huge hindrance. After a long while of theory crafting and teaching some Pokemon new TMs for the Elite Four, there's nothing left to do besides attempt to win. The first member is Will, and he leads with Xatu as I send out Cowtwo, which is fitting because they rhyme. We go for a stab-boosted Body Slam to bring it to about half before Xatu uses U-turn doing little damage and switches into Jinx. We go for Body Slam bringing Jinx down to the red before it uses Psychic to take us down to just 8 HP. I'll admit it, I'm not the most experienced Nuzlocke player, so I go for Body Slam again thinking I will pick up the KO without taking much recoil damage. But Will uses a full restore. Oh no. We bring Jinx back down to the red, but we die to the recoil damage immediately after. This is already going terribly. I switch into Bruno and outspeed it so I can use Pluck for the KO. He then sends in his already hurt Xatu, and we use Fly to take that out. Next up is Executor, and despite being a grass type, this thing is an absolute tank, especially after it gets a Reflect up. Anticipating the Reflect, I go for Pluck to just chip it down a little bit, but we manage to get a critical hit and bring it into the red as it goes for Psychic, which is amazing that we don't have to deal with any screens later on. One more Pluck does the job, and Will sends out Slowbro, and this thing is scary. With the combination of Amnesia and Curse, this thing is a real pain to take down. I switch into Leona, and we get hit with Psychic, bringing us to just above half. We then are able to get a Thunder off, bringing Slowbro to around the same HP. We go for another, but we miss, and Slowbro uses Amnesia. Not good. We go for Thunder a third time, and we manage to connect and bring Slowbro down to a third of HP. We go for Thunder one more time to bring it into the red, and I fear a full restore is coming, but Will doesn't use one, and we can KO it with Strength. Thank God. His final Pokemon is another Xatu, and we can use Double Hit to bring it to just above half after the Citrus Berry. Xatu uses Psychic, and we are brought down to just 5 HP. Scary stuff. Forced to switch here, I send in Miltank, and after taking an Aerial Ace and a Psychic, we use Body Slam, which just barely doesn't take it out. Will uses a full restore as we bring it down a little bit with Body Slam, and after Shell Bell recovery, I know I can take another Psychic unless we get crit. So I decide to stay in to use Body Slam again, but not until we are brought down to just 19 HP by another Psychic. We send in Cindy Bear now as she is our most healthy Pokemon, and we get brought down to 8 HP after taking 2 more Psychics. That battle was traumatizing, especially after 3 Pokemon were brought down into the red. Nonetheless, the show must go on, and we face the second Elite Four member, Koga, former gym leader of the Kanto region. Koga leads with Ariados as we send in Whitney, and I know Ariados will be a 2-hit KO with Zen Headbutt, and we won't trigger a full restore, so I'm able to deal with the Ariados fairly easily. Next to come in, however, is the Fortress, and this thing is so tanky and has Explosion as well, so I'm a little bit scared. To minimize the amount of turns this thing can have, I go for Attract, and you're probably asking why I didn't use Attract on any of Will's Pokemon, and that's because all of them were female, but trust me, if I could have been cheesy and used Attract, I 100% would have. Fortress and Whitney go back and forth for what feels like an eternity as they both do little damage and we can sustain with Milk Drink. We finally get Fortress into the yellow and I go for Body Slam, not expecting to kill, but we get a crit and Fortress goes down and we don't even have to take an Explosion. Amazing. Muck is next to hit the battlefield, and trying to avoid the annoying use of Minimize this thing likes to spam, I opt to use Attract again. After Attract, we use Zen Headbutt, bringing it into the red thanks to a crit. One more Zen Headbutt seals Muck's fate, and now Venomoth comes out. I go for Zen Headbutt, bringing Venomoth to just below half before a Psychic brings us down to 8 HP after Poison. I have to switch now, so I send in Bruno to tank a Psychic, and we can finish off Venomoth with a Pluck. Bruno also levels up, and we teach him Roost. His last Pokemon is his Ace Crobat. He begins to set up double teams as we use Pluck to do little damage but steal his citrus berry in the process, which is amazing. We are able to get one more Pluck off after taking a wing attack and being forced to switch. We send in Cindy Bear and we manage to land an avalanche, but it just barely doesn't KO. Koga uses a full restore, but on the off chance he wasn't going to do that, I used Feint Attack to guarantee a hit to knock it out. Knowing I can't keep Cindy Bear in, I switch into Leona and we manage to get a strength off before this Crobat raises its evasiveness to +6, making it an absolute menace to even try to hit. Amazingly, we managed to not miss another attack after that, and we take Crobat down while at 8 HP, and while being poisoned. Wow, Leona, you really came through for us in that battle. Next up is Bruno, the fighting type Elite Four member, and needless to say, I am terrified. I have a flying type though, so I should be fine, right? Wrong. Over half of his team, Bruno gets absolutely bodied by, so we can't really use him this fight. Knowing I'm gonna need some insane luck for this battle, I lead with Whitney to try the Attract strategy as Bruno leads with Hitmontop. We use Attract to lock down the Hitmontop, and after 2 Zen Headbutts, it goes down to Whitney, and we didn't take any damage. So far, so good. Next up is Hitmonlee, which outspeeds us and uses Confuse Ray, but we break through and land an Attract. Hitmonlee then goes for high jump kick and lands, bringing Whitney down to just 19 HP. Luckily, I big brained this turn and went for Milk Drink on the off chance that this would happen. Luckily, we didn't get confused and we go back up to full HP after 2 turns. Hitmonlee is immobilized by Love once again as we land a +2 boosted Zen Headbutt thanks to Swagger from Hitmonlee. We then outspeed the Machamp to use Attract to immobilize it on the same turn. Next, we use Zen Headbutt, bringing it to about 1/3 of its HP after the Citrus Berry pops. We also managed to snag a flinch, which helps a lot. His ace Machamp then goes down to another Zen Headbutt, and this honestly is going great. Bruno sends in Onix, and you should know by now that of course we use Attract on it turn 1 before the Onix goes for Sandstorm. We fire off a Zen Headbutt and we bring it down to about 1/3 HP thanks to the crit. Onix then is able to use Earthquake for not much damage at all. One more Zen Headbutt is able to finish off Onix, and Bruno sends in his last Pokemon, Hitmonchan. We use Attract as Hitmonchan breaks through and hits us with Thunder Punch for little damage. We then use Zen Headbutt one time to KO it. After this battle, I was speechless. I'm not going to act like we flawlessed that battle thanks to my insane skills as a trainer, because without Attract, I have no idea how I was going to win that one. The last Elite Four member is Karen, and she leads with Umbreon as we send out Teresa. Teresa is able to outspeed and land a Focus Blast and get a crit before Umbreon goes for double team. We then use Outrage, which I thought would kill, but it just barely doesn't, and we trigger Karen's full restore. In a desperate attempt to stop Umbreon from raising its evasiveness even further, I send out Whitney to Attract it, but it ends up not even mattering because the Umbreon broke through the power of love every time, which after that Bruno battle, I guess is fair. After like 20 turns of Umbreon and Whitney not really doing anything to one another, we are eventually able to take out the Umbreon with Body Slam. Next up is Gengar, and I go into Bruno because I completely forgot that Whitney has Scrappy and I could have handled the Gengar with ease. And current me is really mad at past me for this, by the way, because even though we are able to kill the Gengar, it is able to also take us down with Destiny Bond, putting an end to our longest lasting team member, Bruno. I'll always remember you, buddy. Devastated by her loss, Whitney comes out in seek of revenge as she is greeted on the other side by a Houndoom. Whitney takes a flamethrower going down to just 50 HP before we land a Body Slam, bringing Houndoom to exactly half HP, and we manage to get the para as well. My high hopes are soon crushed, however, because after another Body Slam, we leave Houndoom with just 1 HP before its Citrus Berry pops. Whitney is then hit with a Dark Pulse and goes down. We send in Leona to finish the job with a double hit before Karen sends out Murkrow. Leona misses a crucial double hit as Pluck brings it down to just 35 HP after a crit. I need to switch here, so I send in Cindy Bear, who takes a Pluck quite well before taking another Pluck, bringing her to just 69 HP. Nice. We're then able to bring Murkrow down with an Avalanche. Her last Pokemon is a Vileplume, and I keep Cindy Bear in to use Slash for surprisingly little damage before getting paralyzed by Stun Spore. I switch into Teresa and get hit hard by Petal Dance to just 67 HP, completely intending to just get some damage off of Teresa before using her as a sacrifice for a free switch. We use Dizzy Punch to bring the Vileplume within outrage distance before getting brought down to just 9 HP by another Petal Dance. I thought for sure we were a goner. I know I outspeed, so I use Outrage and we KO Karen's final Pokemon. That battle was a brutal one for sure. We only have 3 Pokemon left to take on Lance, and his team is terrifying to say the least. Let's see if we can make a miracle happen. Lance leads with Gyarados as we send out Leona. We managed to land a Thunder, bringing Gyarados to about 1/3 HP. Leona then takes a waterfall and goes down to 50 HP before we take it out with another thunder. A risky play, I know, but we need to take as many risks as possible here if the reward is substantial. Lance then sends out his ace Dragonite, and I just go for a double hit to chip it down and to get a free switch in. Leona is hit hard with Fire Blast and goes down. I use this free switch to send in Cindy Bear, who after Dragonite uses Safeguard, we use Avalanche to bring it into the red and trigger its Citrus Berry. Dragonite then outspeeds and brings Cindy down to 39 HP with a powerful Hyper Beam before we KO with another Avalanche. Lance sends in another Dragonite, and hoping for a miracle, I go for negative priority Avalanche, as I know that if we live one attack, it's the only move that will one-hit KO, but Cindy Bear is taken down by a mighty Dragon Rush. Mother Teresa is my only Pokemon left, and we get paralyzed by Thunder Wave. I'm not sure how much it would have mattered, but I accidentally hit Focus Blast here instead of Outrage, and we missed the Focus Blast. Dragonite then uses Dragon Rush, bringing us to 49 HP, and we get flinched before another Dragon Rush takes down Teresa, and we lose the run. In hindsight, there are definitely things I would have done different throughout this run. I would have brought Zenitsu, our Noctowl, instead of Bruno, because we had Reflect, which would have been a huge help against Lance. I also would have optimized items and movesets much better before challenging the Elite Four, but for my first ever hardcore Nuzlocke, I think I did okay. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Also, I do these challenges live on stream right here on YouTube, so if you want to be a part of the action in real time, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I go live. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.